Hello, everyone. Hopefully, we've got a couple of people joining now for the webinar. Thank you very much for joining now. As I go through the demonstration today in the webinar, you may see that my ugly face is covering the slides a bit. So if that is the case, guys, we've downloaded the PDF of the slides into the resources tab of this webinar. So you're always welcome to have a look in there. Cool. So let me go on to the next slide. We'll wait a couple of minutes for everyone else to join, but what I'll do in the meantime, I'll just run through an agenda or a plan, if you like, for today. Very simply, the first half of the session, what I will be covering is the current project management landscape for the architecture, engineering, construction sort of space and firms. And then we'll delve a bit deeper into what the single source of truth actually is and what it means and why is it really important. And then what we'll do is we'll go on to talk about how we can really reduce risk, delays, and rework by using and utilizing that technology, and how we can transform your information management with machine learning. And then just to finish all off there, we'll give you guys a run through of Mail Manager and give you guys a brief idea of what is it we actually do and how we can help with these issues. Cool. So we'll get started. If we're waiting for anyone else, they can always watch the recording or join on. So I think just to start us off, the technology landscape globally is changing at a sort of quite a rapid and increasing speed. There is no different within. There's nothing different with. Beg your pardon. This is no different within the AEC space, your architect, engineering, and construction industries, which we call the AEC. As I'm sure you've noticed that within your own work, technology is continuing to rapidly evolve, pushing the AEC to become safer, quicker, and more importantly, sort of cost efficient as well. And it's no surprise that with everything going on in the world right now, that is becoming more and more difficult. It's becoming more and more difficult to access project information. I'm sure, obviously, also don't have to let you guys know, but AEC professionals like yourselves rely strongly on consistent communication, and this might take in the form of pitches, winning clients, and also day-to-day communication with your colleagues. The days are gone, sadly, where you can turn around in an office and to your colleague next to you and say, "Hey, do you mind forwarding me on that email," for example. What this means for a lot of people is they don't have access to information when they need it. And if they are left out the communication loop, this is where the issues are created. And I'm sure you can imagine this is a huge problem. With over 347 billion emails expected to be sent and received every day in 2023, emails is the most used communication and collaboration tool around the world, but it's being managed very differently across the board. One of these risks that comes in from the project work, sorry, beg your pardon, one of these risks comes in from project rework. A recent study we did found that 80% of project professionals spend about half their time on project rework, and poor communication costs amounting to $62 billion every year is what's happening there. Rework doesn't just waste your time and money, but it can cause huge communications breakdown within the project team and with your senior executive teams and also those stakeholders. Here at IdeaGen's Mail Manager, we run an annual survey which aims to discover the project management and collaboration challenges facing businesses globally within the AEC industries. The report explores how firms manage project information and where they store it, and how they go about retrieving data when facing those nervous, risky legal disputes. We surveyed roughly around 550 AEC leaders from businesses around the world, from varied roles from their organizations, so from your CEOs, your top level sort of C-suite people in the business, all the way down to project leads and project managers as well. So let's jump straight into the main findings of the 2023 report. I'm just going to sort of slowly run you guys through this slide. I think firstly, the majority of firms cannot easily access their project information. We found that only about 10% of respondents were not concerned about accessibility of their project information. So mostly this is being a big challenge. In fact, only 2% of respondents, that's it, 2% of respondents never need to retrieve emails on past projects. So it is a massive need there. Secondly, over a quarter of organizations are at risk of when staff leave the business. Our research has found that more firms are aware of the importance of filing emails when people leave the business than ever before. In 2022, so the research report we did last year, we found that less than half the respondents indicated their employees were required to file all project-related emails to a central location. And this year, that number has risen even further to around 60%, which is great to see. But unfortunately, 28% of people still do not require emails to be filed. And this being the case, information is often lost. Thirdly, disputes are continuing to rise year on year. In our 2021 report, so going all the way back to sort of during COVID, 63% of respondents experienced some form of dispute in the business. And this year, sadly, that number has risen even further to 91%. So most people in the businesses within the AEC have experienced those disputes within their work. Project scope changes and payments continue to be the leading cause of these disputes. And considering the majority of project scope and information resides in emails and formal documents, and firms can't easily access this, this is definitely a concern that can lead to that. Finally, emails is still the most used communication and collaboration tool within the industry. I think it's around more than 4/5 of respondents to the report said that their project correspondence mostly comes via email. For the purpose of the session today, we'll be focusing on this disputes angle of our research, but we will be emailing everyone a copy of this full research report in the next couple of days, so you guys can have a full read of the rest of our findings. In the AEC, we're seeing trends where costs are on the rise, margins are tighter than ever, and there are sadly a large amount of staff cutbacks. Even the large global firms have reported huge drop-offs in profits as their staff costs are increasing. With so much uncertainty and so many people leaving the business, there is a strong need for organizations to really think about their information management and how they organize that. How can you be sure that there is you all have access to all those documents and correspondence if a staff member is actually to leave the business? Considering 28% of people do not have email filing as a part of their offboarding process, and 81% of firms use email as the majority of their project correspondence, thousands of firms are at great risk of losing information and falling into disputes. Even more concerning is the finding that 55% of these people we surveyed indicating that they do not have email management system in place altogether. I'm sure everyone on the webinar today has heard of that phrase, email is dead, or email won't be around in 10 years' time. But at least in our industry, definitely in the AEC, we've slightly discovered this isn't the case and can be slightly inaccurate. In 2023, just to prove this is the case, 88% of people surveyed indicate that their volume of emails have actually increased within the last 12 months. This is a stark increase actually from the year before. On top of this, almost 2/3 of the AEC businesses regularly need to retrieve emails on past projects, with only 2% having the need to over 2% not having the need to do so. And this is proving to remain consistent, really. For many firms, emails and keeping them well organized and accessible has not been a consideration until things sadly go wrong and there are disputes. And as we can see, they hold vital information that could mean the difference between winning and losing a dispute on a project. Unfortunately, what we're seeing is that project costs are continually to spiral, which has led to the increase of disputes with the AEC. And this is sadly, obviously leading to loss of work and loss of clients as well. Our researchers found that only 9% of people surveyed have not experienced a dispute in the last 12 months. Now, this is significantly higher than previously I've found the last 2 years of the report. 63% of organizations reported experiencing a dispute in the business in 2021. This number rose to 78% in 2022 and is now 91% in 2023. The top 2 causes were issues related with project scope changes and chasing those payments. Unfortunately, for the industry, issues relating to project scope are continuing to sadly gain that momentum as communications lost, and there's no way of going back improving that change of project scope. The reason why this is the case and disputes are gaining momentum is because from our research, because the majority of 85% of information relating to scope changes is stored within emails and formal documents. To this, to break this down even further, I think it's only about 12% of project scope changes do not reside in a digital space at all. And to go even further here, shockingly, 11% of respondents highlighted that the only place that they kept the important project information is in the project manager's head. There's no even physical copy there at all. And in 2020, in 2020, pre-COVID, this was 6.2%, which shows an alarming increase from 11 to 6.2% of the AEC firms not recording project scope changes in the past 3 years. And as you can imagine, this is heavily influenced the amount of disputes and that organizations face and cause obviously those horrible reworks that you guys go through. With findings like these and what you can see on the slide here, it's hardly surprising that 90% of businesses are concerned about their project information not being readily available or accessible. We are consistently seeing that failing to make emails visible and accessible to project teams can cause issues that result in legal disputes. One of our big clients, Arcadis, they did a global constructions disputes report and discovered that the global average value of disputes was a staggering 52.6 million US dollars, with an average length of 15.4 months. So quite a lengthy time there to not be wasting time not working on projects, but also losing that money as well. The firm simply cannot afford to let information like email correspondence slip through the net. We've seen this sort of term leaky bucket of email negatively affecting the AEC firms recently. Firms must be aware of their history and be able to prove everything has happened on the projects, especially within these high stakes. A recent disaster that has shaken the UK AEC and sort of major projects industry was the huge fire at the Grenfell Tower in London, where sadly 72 people lost their lives. I think some of you on the call may not be based in the UK or therefore familiar with Grenfell. So in terms of a quick summary, there was a fire caused by an electrical fault in a high-rise residential building that spread rapidly across the building due to highly flammable cladding that was used on the exterior of the building. In the public inquiry that took place afterwards, damning emails were uncovered indicating that certain parties were in fact actually aware of this highly flammable cladding and that they were using it, and it was to be unsafe. Off the back of this, given the nature of the industry you guys operate in, firms need to guarantee information visibility to ensure they are making the right decisions. And in the best cases, poor information management cases, and in the worst cases, poor information management costs firms money, but even worse than that, can cause people to be unsafe. With proper email management process in place, businesses can really ensure that project information and correspondence are captured and accessible by the entire project team along the line. This will reduce the risk of rework, so their financial benefit there as well, but also stop disputes straight away in their tracks. Plus, you'll have this information to your Plus, you'll have this this information to your hand years down the line should liability dispute arise. What's the role of information and documents here? So that's been a quick overview of Ideagen's mail managers' state of AEC reports. We'll send out the report, as I said, in the next couple of days, so you can get a full detail of what's been said there and what's been found. So what does this mean for information management, and how can it help you guys all avoid those daunting disputes going forward? Luckily for us, we're living in 2023, where the age of technology and technology advancements are continuing to improve the way we work. As I touched on earlier, AEC firms are increasingly using the tech to boost efficiencies such as VR and 3D modeling. And BIM advancements mean that team members can all be on the same page. The use of BIM has been seen in several benefits in the AEC over the past couple of years, including reducing waste, improvement of collaboration, enhanced productivity, time saving, and just overall increased technology adoption across the board. It is improving safety across the industry as well, and provides a deep insight into the existing buildings as well. So while all this new tech is making our lives easier and really boosts the industry, it's hardly surprising that it's harder than ever to access. It's hard to surprise. It is surprising, I beg your pardon, that it's harder than ever to access project information and ensure that teams follow information management processes. This sensitive and often confidential information is typically stored in documents and correspondence, and it can be quite inaccessible. Information always on projects is the lifeblood, but it's only well organized, accessible, secure, and updated. But it's only if it is, so I beg your pardon, organized, accessible, and secure and updated. And this is no easy task. But what is the solution here? What we find most firms, from our experience, need is a single place where all of your project and client information is sorted, so you can see the complete picture of what's been said on any given project you're working on. That phrase usually comes in the form of a single source of truth, a digital record securely created, updated and accessible information covering the entirety of a building's life cycle, including design, construction, management, and post-construction as well. A single source of truth provide a better working methods and encourage more transparent communication. This is really helping your organizations drive changes faster without compromising that all-important quality that we all strive for. And it also ensures that project and client teams have access to the correct information when they need it, and also if they need it later on down the line. Managing project information in one place is critical to avoiding those disputes and those rework that we've mentioned so many times. And when done right, it allows teams to use their time, resources, and knowledge to make and use their knowledge to make the right decisions at the right time. I think probably at this stage, when I usually these webinars, everyone's usually thinking, right, this sounds overwhelming. But just to put your all mind at ease, tech is on our side. And the two easiest ways to create a single source of truth are by removing that manual process. So that manual process of people uploading things to that single source of truth, but also increasing the information visibility across the board. So in terms of what you can do about this, one thing to keep in mind is the single source of truth is, it's not, if it's not fully complete, it's not going to be the truth. So it's only as good as the information you put into it. And what we've seen in our research report is, while firms are stringent about their documents and contracts that are managed, emails is often one of those things that can be left behind, and due to the fact that everyone manages differently. Without the right tools and automation in place, project teams are left to their own devices. Some people essential information, or not including them in your overall information management strategy, can prove to be detrimental to.
Hello, sorry, you dropped there briefly. So we've missed about kind of 30 seconds or so of your content. So I don't know if you want to rewind just a little bit, if that's okay.
Of course. Yeah, no worries. Apologies there. So I'll go back to the start of this slide.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
No worries. So I'll go back a second. Now, obviously, technology difficulties is something we can't deal with at all. But one thing, just going back to in terms of how everyone can make their do a single source of truth. One thing to keep in mind is that the information you put into that single source of truth improves the truth you get out of it. The less information you put into it, the less information you're going to get out of it. And what we've seen with our research report is, while firms are usually stringent about their documents and their contracts and how they're managed, emails is one of those things that everyone manages differently. Without the right tools and automation in place, project teams are usually left to their own devices, and some people will move emails to their own Outlook folders on the left-hand side. I think most people usually do that. Or some people save information to individual desktops, and others just delete it, which is absolutely is daunting and a high-risk situation there. In all of these scenarios, that information is trapped in silos and inaccessible to the wider team. Losing access to these essential emails or not including them in your overall information management strategy can prove detrimental to firms and your clients as well. When emails are managed correctly, everyone in the organization has access to the right information when they need it to make the right decisions at the right time. It provides a much better way of working, encourages more transparent communication, and ensures that the team and members have access to the information when they need it. Plus, it removes the responsibility of storing and managing data from the person or department themselves. So it's time to avoid these common email headaches of this isn't what we agreed to, or when did you tell us this, or John has left the company, so I'm coming in a bit I'm coming into this a bit cold. Those headaches are gone for now. Some of the benefits from centralization of information are just included to know. So you can very simply, your data becomes far more discoverable. You're being far more efficient on projects because you're not wasting time going back and searching for information. And you've just got that all important increased transparency. You can find out what's been said, who said it, and why it was said. And that's why, here, so that's where sort of here we, IdeaGen Mail Manager, come into this. So we were originally developed by a practice called Arab Engineering, which I appreciate many of you may be familiar with on the call today. They are a multidisciplinary engineering practice, globally based, with a couple of their projects being on the screen there that some of you may recognize. But really why they developed Mail Manager is these four sort of key areas, if you like. So very simply, they had a lot of emails flying around their inboxes, but no consistent way of getting these emails actually put into project folders. They tried to put in various processes in place where they asked people to manually drag and drop emails onto project folders on servers, SharePoints, but realistically, no one was doing that. And even if they were doing that, it was very time consuming and quite inconsistent. So if information is not put into that single source of truth, they're not going to have, it's not going to do what it says it's doing. And this is where Arup came in. So originally they went out to market to try and find the easy option where they could just pluck off a system off the shelf and get going with their way of working and plug it in. But what they found is there were all these systems were quite big and bulky. So they, funnily enough, went in the complete opposite direction and developed Mail Manager themselves. And that's probably personally one of my favorite things about it is it's designed by a project management firm for project management firms. So everything I've said in that slide there, we know exactly how the issues that everyone's having in the industry because those are the people we help and those are the people who have used it in the past. And that probably reflects a lot more in this slide here today. So mainly working within the AEC space, as I mentioned. And what I've done, I just put together a couple of slides here of some of the companies we help. So obviously you've got sort of massive ones like AECOM and Ramble there that maybe more familiar with. I just thought it'd be important to include a sort of a small customer success story here as well. So Ramble are one of our biggest clients globally. They're a massively long-term client of ours. They've got thousands and thousands of licenses globally of Mail Manager. But what I've really, we've loved about them is they've had a massively better positive experience of Mail Manager, and just find that it's one of those systems that if you were ever to remove, it would be a big loss to the business. Is something they use on a daily basis. And I've just included a couple more here. So I won't go into each one individually, but there are certain ones here like Prochem Engineering who have helped them meet their ISO 9001 accreditation, Niche Engineering that has saved about £10,000 in storage costs over their time. And Brighter Engineering, they've had all their project communication in central location, which very simply means everyone's working on the project is on that same page. And I always like to describe it as everyone's reading off the same hymn sheet. Obviously, with Carol season coming around, that's probably quite relevant. Cool. So this is usually the issues that people typically have before they use something like Mail Manager. And if you're looking at this and thinking, wow, these are the issues that are relevant, then we'll be able to show you a demonstration and show you how we can help with that. But very simply, you've got risk of losing sensitive information, and that's very simply of not necessarily you're going to lose it in a business altogether, but it may take you quite a while to find. It's a bit like the case of I've lost my keys in the house somewhere, but I don't know exactly where they are. I know the keys are in the house, but it's going to take me ages to find them. And that links quite nicely to the waste of time spent filing and searching, emails, and that's down to the end user. Those project managers who are spending 2 hours a week going back and filing their emails, or not filing it at all, and then there's a difficulty searching for them as well. And then lack of control, nice piece there that comes on to you've put in place a process as a business, and people are reluctant to follow that. And then all that sort of we like to say comes together and causes the big issue of information being locked in people's inboxes. And as I said earlier, gone are the days where you can shout across and say, "Hi, Karen, can you forward across that email?" People are on site working from home. They might be in the office, but very simply, information usually is locked away in people's inboxes. So what we do with Mail Manager is we very simply increase the confidence of the fact you're actually going to be able to retrieve those emails later on down the line, reduce the time it takes you to actually find those emails. So if there is a dispute, you can find them quickly before legal needs to get involved or anything like that. That's in turn going to increase that productivity, mean that you guys can take on more projects throughout the year, and not be wasting time on those admin tasks that, if you're doing billable hours, you can't bill out. And what really what we strive to do is put in place one place for information management where everyone can access those emails. Cool. So this brings me on to the exciting bit of showing you all exactly how Mail Manager works. So I'm just going to open up my Outlook here. So what you can hopefully all see here is the fact first of all is my Outlook, and the fact that my Outlook won't look too dissimilar to yours. Mail Manager has just added these 3 simple buttons to the top of your taskbar. So really getting people up and running and using it is very quick, very simple, and it doesn't change too much about the way that people are working with emails at the moment. The main aim of Mail Manager is to get a copy of the email filed out of the user's inbox and directly filed into the project folder centrally on your systems, without too much change to the end user. And then the second half of it is providing everyone with that all-important search bar I beg your pardon, find everyone with that all-important search bar that allows everyone to access those emails when and if they need them later on down the line in that single source of truth. In terms of the way we actually get emails filed into these project folders, I'll take this email here from Zach. As you can see here, I've not written anything on the project about an email on here about what email the project folder needs to go to. So it didn't say that project folder there, but I know it's about the file apart project. But I'm just going to write in the email very simply: the client wants to put new, beg your pardon, let's spell that right, on the first floor. So quite an important directional email there that usually we find doesn't get filed away, and that's when issues happen later on down the line when someone says, "Hey, I never approved that new flooring." So as I said, what's happening at the moment, sending out email, they're not being filed. With Mail Manager, straight away you click send here, and what you're going to be greeted with straight away here is a prompt that says you need to file away this email. And this goes out to all the users. It's that standardized process that everyone's going to be following. But really importantly, what it does is it also predicts the location of where to file to. So it comes up there, predicts that file apart project there. And the way it knows where to file to is, the first part is going to look for the keywords that are written on the email. But as I mentioned in the past, Fowler Park isn't written on that email. How does it know where to go to there? That's where the AI and the machine learning comes into play. And what it's going to do is it's going to understand the user's filing habits. So where you typically like to file emails to from certain email addresses. So if you're working those emails with clients and you're starting to file them into certain project folders, it's going to notice those trends and suggest these locations up here. So you can change it, but very simply, you've got your suggested location there. You can click send and file. That's then going to send the email out to Zach and really nicely file away straight away the copies of both emails into the project folder. So you get a copy there of sent and received emails filed centrally for everyone to then be able to access. So that's the filing aspect there. Nice thing about this is it stays in your inbox there, and you've got an orange tag in it. So you know it's been filed, you know it's been stored centrally, and you can delete it if you wanted to. And funny enough, most of our clients do. They even have it on an auto delete. So they have so much confidence in this, and they can delete it and have access to it later down the line. Obviously, that's the information filed. I don't know, maybe people on the call today are thinking, I already file emails to SharePoint, a file server, the project document library, but it's still very difficult to find. That's where this search tool comes in. Pressing this button here opens up this window here, and this very simply is a window or a bridge, if you like, between your Outlook and every single email that's been filed centrally onto the system. Just gives you access to all of those critical bits of information. So if you are working on a job and you're working on site or someone's left the business, you can find out what's been said and really importantly, why it's been said. But likewise, if there is a dispute, this has potential to save you all those legal fees and all that sort of worry and all those sleepless nights on those disputes. In terms of the way this works, really simple. I'm just going to show you one example today because I don't want to bore you with examples on how this works. But we had a situation a couple of years ago where one of my colleagues, Georgina, she left Mail Manager and she was dealing on a project with Gensler. And as I said earlier, most of the disputes come from invoicing and payments. And for this one, we had to find out where she left off with one of the invoices we sent this client. But as I said, she left the business. We hadn't had access to her Outlook. And straight away, usually that would ring alarm bells in your head. And IT would need to be involved in aspects like that. But with this, I'll show you how that works. So very simply, first thing you do is you type in a keyword in this bar here, and that straight away brings up any email with that keyword in it. And it's not just going to search the subject line, which you might usually get, but it's also going to search the contents of the email as well, which is really important and helpful because we've all got clients, guys, who don't label emails correctly. This is going to ensure you're searching the contents as well. So what I can then do is go straight into the project folder itself. As I mentioned, the client was Gensler, so I'm going to go into the Gensler project folder. Straight away, all the emails there. Still quite a few to look through. I'm going to say it includes an attachment on the email. So just going to search those emails that have attachment on it. And then finally, my favorite filter here that makes my life a lot easier and a lot of our clients' lives a lot easier is this including bar. So 30 emails there. These are sent from everyone across my whole company, but I just want the ones that Georgina sent or received. So that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in Georgina and select Georgina's name there, and bring up just the emails that she was involved in. And very simply, what I've got there is, and what you'll have there is a selection of emails that fulfills those criteria. And for this, it's 2 emails. And you've got the full access to the whole chain of communication. So you'll really be able to find out what's been said, why it was said, avoid those disputes, prove that you got that sort of change of scope or that approval that was necessary, find out where setbacks have been or snaggings have happened on a project. But likewise, if you're working on a day-to-day project and it isn't as bad as a dispute or an approval you need to find, it might be the case you're just looking for some specification that was sent an email by a colleague. This is that place to do so and not waste 10, 15 minutes of your day in the process. And then with that button there, nice feature here is very simple, the ability to open it up. I've just opened it in my wrong screen. Give me 1 second. The ability to open it up as its original Outlook email, just like that, forward it on, reply to it, do whatever you need to do there to be able to do your job effectively and efficiently as well. So, I mean, there's heaps more to show you, and I'd love to go on and show you guys more on this system. But for now, I think that's probably it. I'll go on to the next slide because we do run sort of demonstrations and more in-depth, detailed ones of this, where we can show everyone exactly how Mail Manager works. But likewise, if you did want to download a free trial of the system, that's a great way to get up to grips with the system and playing around with it yourselves. But what I'd like to do now, guys, I'm going to open up the floor to a couple of questions and get those answered. And yeah, hopefully give you guys a bit more insight that way and get those answered. Let me just open up my questions tab. Give me 1 second. So, I had a question come in here. I'm just going to go across the next slide. Hi, George. As you roughly pointed out, that communication is the key contributor for rework in engineering. I would request please emphasize the importance of weekly, monthly meetings where stakeholders put their concerns and review process and have convergence on throughout the process and next time. And that's a great point. I think that's something that we find happens quite often is those weekly meetings where everyone can find out what's been said on those jobs and what's gone on. Another question that's come in here is, how does Mail Manager manage permissions? That's a really good question, and something that always comes up when that search tool, when I show people that search tool, is they always get panicked and think, oh, people are going to find my paycheck emails, my other emails along those lines I wouldn't want people to find, or likewise, we may have a project there's an NDA on. We very simply with the search tool base ourselves off the permissions that are in place on your sites. So whether it be SharePoint or a file server, if you haven't got access to it on SharePoint or those project folders, you're not going to have access to it with Mail Manager. So as much as you may want to go onto the HR folder and have a little look around there, you won't ever be able to because it won't be accessible. If you guys have got any questions, just pop them in the attendee questions box and we can get those answered. Next question here is coming as well. So what happens with duplicate emails? So I think it's all well and good having a single source of truth, but if you put too much information into it, then it might get a bit overcrowded and a bit over flooded. So what we do is we deduplicate these emails, and the way that works is if 5 people went to go and file away the same email, we're only going to file away 1 copy, and that just ensures you're not clogging up your server with excess space, your site's with excess space, but you also, when you're going to search for it, you're going to get a really clear and concise idea of what's been said. Next question here is where are emails filed through Mail Manager? I mean, so this is, I mean, it's difficult to put it to get a good to answer this for everyone here. Obviously, we've got a lot of people on the call here. Everyone uses their different platforms for information storage, but very simply with Mail Managers, we can bolt on to most information storage platforms. If you guys are using SharePoint, a file server, Viewpoint, a Procore, we can file directly into these document libraries alongside where you're filing other project information. So if you've got a document subfolder, a subfolder library where you're filing attachments, invoices, we'll really simply create an email subfolder there, and that follows along the lines of a common data environment, a single source of truth, and also in terms of the Building Safety Act as well, that came in place after Grenfell, with that golden thread piece, ensures that you're compliant to that as well, and ensuring that all the information is kept together and you've got a good idea of what's been said on the jobs. So what happens with the sensitive emails? Yes, this probably links me back to the last question in terms of how do we manage permissions. So if you file an email to a HR folder or a folder that only select people have access to, that's going to be in place on the search as well. So there are HR folders in my search tool that, as I said, I'd love to have a look around and find out how much my colleagues are paid and things, but obviously I won't ever be able to because those folders are restricted to me. And then alongside that, a question I always get is, okay, but what about personal emails? What about emails, my paycheck or healthcare documents? So really simply a Mail Manager, everyone's going to get their own personal filing location, and that's a place where I like to file my paycheck into there and then things like that, or my holiday approvals, I file into there. But likewise, not every email has to be filed. You've got a nice button that means you can send an email out and not file it. So I've got another question here, and I mean this is a good one because it links on nice to the report we did and what I was mentioning earlier. So it says, when people leave the business, will they still have access to all of the emails they've received? So I guess the business themselves, the nice thing about Mail Manager, as long as an email's been filed centrally into a place that's connected to Mail Manager, you'll still be able to search all those crucial bits of information, even if they were really angry with you when they left the business and deleted all the emails in their Outlook. They can do that as much as they like because all of the emails have actually been stored centrally, and that's where the search pulls the emails off. It's not going to search your Outlook; it's going to search the central location and what's been filed there in the past. So if someone does leave, you'll still have access to all of their emails. So that Georgina example I gave you guys earlier, that is, she's left the business, her Outlook has been shut down and fully deleted, but all of those emails are still accessible to everyone within my organization, and be the same for you guys as well. Cool. So another question coming here as well from Joe. How does it work with email trails, like a chain of responses? Yeah, it's a good point. So with Mail Manager, if you reply to an email that's already been filed, it would just file away your reply. And that's really important. So if you've already filed away the past email, as I said, it's not going to duplicate the existing email you've had incoming to business, it's only going to file your reply. And what it does actually attach itself to that chain of emails that is on the search tool. So you won't be looking in lots of different locations for a reply to this email that's come from this one, being an A and B spaces. You'll be able to find it as a full communication sort of chain. So you can find out the full turn from, why something was approved, where the payment come from, where the change of scope had happened, and what a consultant has said, for example, and then what the client had mentioned in reference to that. So really helpful feature there to ensure that you access the whole chain of communication and find out what's been said along the line. Cool. I think what we'll do there, guys, I've got a good list of questions here. I think that's probably given everyone a really good idea. If you've got any other questions at all, feel free to email across to me. But what we'll do is we'll send some follow-up to this after this. So you've all got my details of questions, but what we'll do is we'll send across that research report as well. And if it does, if it does come off the back of this demonstration, this meeting, you think, it does look quite relevant, then feel free to get in touch. We organise demonstrations where we can go into far more detail there, but more importantly, tailor it to your demonstration. I'm fully aware that not everyone on this call is working the exact same way that I am, and other examples I've mentioned. So if any moment you think that could be relevant, or if you're worried that you might be the wrong person, still come along, guys. Have a look at the system, and it may be something that can then help and revolutionize the way you're working with those emails on your projects. But I think what's left for me to do today, guys, is just say thank you for coming along today. I know it's taking a bit, you've taken a bit out of your day to come along and look at Mail Manager and us to run you through our research report. But thank you for coming along. If there's any questions, as I said, just email them across. We're happy to answer them. But I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I look forward to hopefully speaking with some of you soon. But thank you very much.